Bienvenidos a un episodio más de Legado Live. Nuevamente con mi amigo y colega Andrea Calabrò, quien es director académico de SPGC, which is STEP Project Global Consortium. Andrea, thank you again for sharing some of your last, your reflections. And why don't we talk about legacy, a topic that has been in your area of interest for the last couple of years, in which I have learned not only the typology that you have with the team created uh, in order to to lead a conversation with family members, but how to move from a very abstract topic to a more tangible and concrete, which is legacy in family business.
Thank you, Maria. Thank you also for asking about the specific topic of legacy, which I particularly like. And you are correct in mentioning that some of the main issue we have from both research but also practice when talking to family businesses is to provide a specific definition about what legacy is. As a good academic and researcher, I like to make some research. And being also Italian, I went a bit back into the origin of the word legacy. And it had an historical revolution. And from the Latin tradition, it represents the person who carries a message, legatum. This is what was originally in the Latin tradition, which is a nice way of, identifying it. Then in the historical tradition and under the Roman Empire, it changed a bit the wording, moving from this ambassador towards a more material thing, especially the will. What do you leave to people? Okay. And then in a more, recent tradition, especially in the 19th century, the term has changed meaning, meaning also something more holistic, connecting to stakeholders, connecting to, people. And recently it has again taken the meaning of leaving something, but not only to material. So it's the contribution that you make to the world. So if we already follow this excursus of the meaning of what legacy is, we can understand that there are different things involved. And in a family business, all of those things coexist. If you would ask some entrepreneurs, they will tell you, for me, the legacy is that what I will leave, what I leave to my, next generation, to my children. And it can be the company, for example, it can be a set of values that we have worked for to develop, and we are recognized in the business community and also in the society for those values we strictly follow. But it can be also something more material. Think about an house. Think about some properties. Think about some jewelry, a ring which belonged to your grandmother or father, who were the founders of this family business. And this leads me a bit to the piece of research we have been developing together also with you and with the STEP Project Global Consortium team and KPMG Private Enterprise around legacy. We tried to understand which are the dimensions of legacy in order to be able to identify what type of legacy you might have. And some of these dimensions are a bit more, material legacy, property, jewelry, some things that you can touch and that have an emotional value, but also value in itself. And then there is another type of legacy, which is defined also in literature as biological. And this is the one which I really also like, because it shows the essence of family business. It goes back to kinship, relationship, and to blood. For example, the importance of carrying a tradition, the importance of carrying a name, a family name from your grandfather or your ancestor. So all things which have more to do with a DNA blood related thing. And then you can move more to also types of legacy which are more about identity legacy, meaning about why do you recognize yourself within this social group, within this family business. And this can evolve towards a legacy which is more social, for example. So linked to the community, think at a family business which comes from a specific town and they give back to that town through initiatives, donation, philanthropic things that they create. So there are
somehow attached to
attached,
that
exactly.
to
So
that
there are
context.
different types of dimensions, and what we have developed is a kind of tool, if we can score, to add all of those dimensions in a kind of box so that we can measure the degree of legacy that the family business has, but being conscious that this legacy can be built, can be made of different things, and then what we have tried to do is to combine this with family entrepreneurship. So the degree of how much you are investing in transferring that generational intent, which is made of a part of family relationship, a part of family entrepreneurship, and a part of future generation orientation. And what we found in a sample of more than 2,600 family firms around the world is that the family businesses which show the highest social, economic, so financial and sustainability performance are the one who are able to combine high family legacy with also high family entrepreneurship. And in our academic matrix, we call them the evolving family business, evolving legacy. Because what I also learned is that, and this goes back to the message of the legatus, it's not only to define legacy. So if you force me now to give you a definition, I would say it's a message that someone sends to someone else. So it's important that you have the legatus, someone who
The
materially
message.
sent. But I will then add the ones who receives the message, he or she or them, they need to have the possibility to take the message and shape it.
Be
Shape
part of
it
it.
in a way that they could feel comfortable with. That's why many family businesses around the world who are now trying to live their legacy, they are focusing on which are the core values that have inspired me, independently from what we have achieved from the economic and financial point of view. So I would wish that you could, still carry on those values. And then I would be sure that you will take this business and make out of it something different. There is a famous entrepreneur in Italian which say that every generation has to refound the family business. It's like a new foundation because you have different people, you have different social economic contexts we are seeing right now. So pretending that it has to be like it was, it's not sustainable.
Right. You have to identify those values, and even sometimes they can change, but the core of the values, the value of values needs to be understood and passed on um, generation to generation. So, and what have you found in the last um, research that you are referring to is also you talk about sustainability, and this goes to the long term um, orientation that family businesses, at least on my opinion, is a constant that no matter who defines what a family business is, has to has to have a long term uh, view, like a long term orientation. So, what is it that you mentioned the values, but what is it? Is it a place to go? Just give us an idea. A place to go. What do you call in Spanish? We say a reliquia. You talk about the rings, but something that is a symbolic object, um, or a picture or a piece of art. What is it that can somehow lead us to a more strong um, bond to that legacy that, especially coming from Italy.
Yeah, thank you for the question. I think that especially when I work with family businesses on the specific topic of legacy, we go in this, legacy journey, which takes them towards the discovery. So as you might have understood, you start with defining what legacy is. So everyone is involved in understanding, the dimension, the definition, and then trying to get, what is your legacy, this set of values that you were mentioning, trying really to understand if they held across time, because they can change, they can be slightly modified, and you can have 10 values, but maybe they are too much. So the exercise is about how you go from 10 to maybe 1 or 3. And this it's also a form of getting agreement. So one of the benefit about this legacy journey and discovery is also its communication at the end within the family. But then there is also a part which can, be more material, more concrete. How you can, build things, initiatives that can materialize your legacy. And that's what many family businesses do in a scattered way automatically. One example, if you think at the firm level, company level point of view, think about company anniversary. So it's first year, and then 2, 3, 5, but then you get to 20 years old, 30 years old. So the importance of celebrating those milestones within the family, within the owners, within the bigger community, but also your employees. Tell yourself, how did you get to your 50th anniversary? And this is usually the time where companies start around 15 years, 20 years to do the first videos, recalling the history. And then usually it's interesting to understand who is taking the initiative to start this video. Usually are the member of the new generation, because they want, to please their parents. But the meaning, the purpose sometimes is a different one. They want to know what would they like to carry over. Because talking about your legacy, it's sometimes talking about yourself letting go or leaving this world. And we know it could be hard. So initiatives that try really to visualize your legacy. If you have to realize a 2 minute, 2.5 minutes, 3 minute video about the last 50 years of your companies, you have to be very careful about what you choose to put in. And everyone needs to, identify. This is already a good exercise, but also you can think at the legacy room that can extend to a museum of the company. If you are a company in manufacturing and you have been there for around 50, 100 years, you have seen many things happening. So you can show technological development, how you started from a small version of your product and now you are something which is highly technological. It reminds you the nice things, but also the battles that you had to win to get there. And these are tokens which remind all of us from where we come from. And then there is also a bit more, think about a legacy book in every family business in which you communicate your history from where you have started, what, the development, and then finding also some information that maybe not every family member might know. Think at family businesses that are at the 4th, 5th, 6th, 14th generation. You need this as an anchor, And another thing is that those mechanisms, tokens, more material things sometimes can also help family members which, lose track to remind themselves who they are. So they can help also in solving family disputes. One of the usual sentence I've heard and that you can use in those conflict mediation, mechanism is that, what would your father think if he would be here and seeing you, fighting like this? Will they be happy or not? So I think it's something that can be used at the family level, at the employees level, but there is a bit more. Because if you are working on this legacy discovery journey and then you are able to make it material, it can be something that can be useful, a useful value proposition for the company. Because you can really use this, translate or in corporate heritage. So something that connects you better with your stakeholders, customers, and you can put a kind of markup in terms of price on your product. So I choose the product from this business because look at who they are from where they come, and I identify myself in those values. So if I have two products or services which are the same in the market, if I recognize myself better in those values, I choose this one. And I think this is especially true in the world in which we are currently living, where we have a loss of identity. You know, everything is so easy, it goes on the socials, then it's influencer. You know, it's like, you know, those family businesses can influence, you know, the market in choosing them because of their value, because of who we are.
Great. Thank you very much. Hasta aquí un episodio más de Legado Live.